The banking sector of this country is lighting a match under the feet of government and the opposition as they urge both parties to put politics aside and pass the FATCA bill ahead of the U.S. deadline of February 2017. It's the second time for the year the bill is creating a stir. Back in September, the bill failed to be passed in Parliament as the opposition refused to lend its support to government. The banking sector warns if the country fails to comply with the Taxation Act, the consequences won't be pretty. Janine Brown has more.
In 2014, while the People's Partnership was still in power, Trinidad and Tobago agreed to become one of the countries around the world which subscribes to the US-based FATCA. We've been hearing the term FATCA thrown about a lot in the past few months, but does every citizen know what it means? FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, promotes cross-border tax compliance by implementing an international standard to obtain detailed account information for U.S. taxpayers on an annual basis. While the primary goal is to gain information about U.S. citizens, FATCA imposes tax withholding where the applicable documentation and reporting requirements are not met. That's the fate Trinidad and Tobago faces if the bill is not passed. The latest grace period given by the U.S. for Trinidad and Tobago to pass the bill to Parliament is February 2017. Bankers Association President Anya Schnur is hoping the government and opposition can put their differences aside and allow the legislation to go through. She said, barring this, each citizen is going to be affected.
We run real reputational risk to our country, and we potentially put at risk the entire stability of the banking system. And this is what's really important. The hundreds and thousands of Trinidad and Tobago citizens that are customers of the banks in this country.
As I mentioned before, the primary purpose of the bill is to help the U.S. get an account of its citizens around the world so as to ensure no U.S. citizen escapes paying their respective taxes. The opposition is wary, however, of signing off on the legislation as they say it gives the government of the day access to citizens' personal information. But Ms. Schnur clarifies the law is not targeted at nationals.
It was intended to combat tax evasion by U.S. persons, and in so doing, it places a responsibility on foreign financial institutions, such as banks in Trinidad and Tobago, to require identification and reporting of financial accounts held by U.S. taxpayers or by foreign entities in which U.S. taxpayers hold a substantial ownership interest.
If the bill is not passed in Parliament, the banking sector said as a country we would suffer from strained international relationships, which would result in higher costs in operating business globally.
Because of the companies will be adversely affected by the 30% withholding tax. So all our investment income will be 70% of what it used to be in the past. So that's the effect on the investment, and as I said before, that covers all individuals as well as companies.
The banking sector is expected to meet with the opposition on Monday with the intention of impressing upon them the need to allow the bill to be passed. Janine Brown, CNews.